Tango 1 at the top, we are at Pop-Up Vehicle. 10-4, Tango 1, you have control. Tango 1 copy. Stand by. Stand by.
Integrity, passion, resilience. That's what this place was built on. That's what our community is founded on. Don't act like the example, just be the example. This is the home of the greatest fitness community in the world. We're trying to create strong, able bodies, resilient to injury with a gas tank to get shit done. If there's one thing from this podcast, it's about taking immediate action. Find the problem, fix the problem. This is your opportunity. It's either a hell yes or a fuck no. It's that simple. You're doing that to the Tango 1 podcast. Now is the time to take action. Now's the time to do more and be more. All right. Welcome to the Tango 1 podcast, episode 3. I'm Tony Smith. I'm a retired cop and tactical team leader. Recently, owner and founder of the Garage Gym and Tango 1 Solutions. I'll be joined by my friend and fireman, amateur stuntman, former university quarterback, Casey Wright, also the head trainer of the Garage Gym. Our mission is to challenge you and guide you to create immediate action plans against your problems and your weaknesses. We simply want you to do more and be more. Today, we are welcoming a guest, our second guest. This is Coach jMacdougall. Him and I go way back, so far back, to when I was actually I think I got babysat with your brothers when I was little. And Jimmy's brother was actually my partner for a very long time on the tactical unit. And then when we went back to patrol, we served together in a car crew in the West End for a little bit. Recently, Jimmy and I have been working together as I've been doing some consulting with ETS, Elite Training Systems in Windsor, NFL star Luke Wilson's gym. Jimmy's a former university athlete, football and wrestling. He's got 25 years of experience in teaching and coaching. He's participated in all facets of athletics, from youth, high school, university, and professional. He's coached athletes to awesome medals in 5 different sports. Incredible. He's a 6-time WESA Football Coach of the Year, 2-time Minor League Coach of the Year in hockey. He's the OVFL Coach of the Year, and he's been to this is a crazy stat, over 30 former students' weddings, which just goes about this guy is the king of relationships and connections, which is one thing that I love about this guy and why we wanted to bring him on. And he's currently writing a book about his journey in education. Real cool fact is Jimmy coached Casey, which probably dates you a little bit, right?
Absolutely.
Coached Casey in as a quarterback for the Lancers years back. So today's overview, what we're going to be talking about today is training athletes versus training your average person, coaching, and self-development. So Jimmy, before we get going, man, first of all, so grateful to have you here.
Glad to be here. Super excited for this.
Really awesome. Excited, man. I think the best way that we need to kick it off is with a Jimmy story, because Coach Jimmy Mac is known for his stories and his fist bumps. So you told me this crazy story about Casey. Not crazy, it's just hilarious story about Casey. So if you remember that about quarterback,
go ahead.
I
remember it. It was hilarious.
Let's hear it.
So I coached Casey, recruited him. He was from Sault Ste. Marie, came to the University of Windsor. I was the defensive coordinator there, and it was a pretty funny story. So a couple years passed. I move on in my career and actually come back to the university, and I'm working as a strength coach. So it was during spring camp, and Casey was at practice one day. He was retired. Career was done, and he was just kind of standing on the sideline. We were shooting the breeze, and the Lancers at the time, I won't say the name of the person, but he was struggling at quarterback, to say the least. And he was throwing ducks out there. And I turned to Casey, I said, oh my God, somebody's going to get killed by this quarterback. There's a receiver going to go over the middle and legitimately get his head taken off. And Casey says to me, he says, back in the day, I probably threw some balls that might have got some receivers killed too. But at least they were fucking spirals. I literally was dying when I heard that. I was doubled over in laughter. It was hilarious.
So I hope you non-footballers can appreciate that. It's
celebrate. I guess the lesson to that is celebrate small successes.
Yeah, small wins, Case. At least you can throw spirals.
It looks good out there.
Yeah.
Casey's been teaching my kids to throw spirals, which is pretty cool having him on the staff. They get pretty pumped about that. So let's get right into this. Let's dive right in. So one of the cool things when I first came to ETS with you guys and we sat down, these guys have a phenomenal coaching facility and two of the best coaches I've ever been around. They hired me on. Luke hired me to help them with some business end of things and get things going, because just like us, they struggle with the back end of business a little bit. So when I sat down with them, we started talking about, what are your values, your mission? What do you guys think? And you had this like amazing saying, and you correct me if I'm wrong. It was something like, we're all athletes.
Just at different levels of the journey.
Yeah. So let's get into that, man. What do you think about that? Where does that come from? Explain that a little bit.
I just think being as a former athlete myself, from a youth standpoint, and then moving on through high school, you get different goals, you get different training, excellent, etc. And then you go to university, and then you're kind of defined as an athlete. And then when you leave university, there's sort of a void where you kind of, okay, I'm no longer an athlete, but I kind of have to stay in shape. So you take all of the things that you learn athletically, and then you now foster them into a situation where, okay, I just got to look better. And now I want to move better. And as you get older, your goals change because you're no longer running into people at the line of scrimmage like in football. But at the same time, you want to be healthy and you want to move better. And that goes till eternity. Till the day that they put you in the ground, you want to be able to be healthy as a 70-year-old, as an 80-year-old. Nobody's going to ask you to do huge bench presses at 80 years old, but you still want to be able to play with your grandkids, go for walks, be able to change direction. Be able to, a cat goes out in front of you when you're out for a walk, and you still want to be able to plant your foot in the ground and take a step backwards without breaking your hip. And the journey is the exact same. The way that you get to those results is the processes are the same. They don't change once you retire from sports. But athletic development is really and truly a lifelong pursuit.
Yeah, you know what? I couldn't agree with you more. And let's take that even a step further. So even if you weren't, and you disagree with me if you don't, but I feel like even if you weren't an athlete in high school, in grade school, whatever, we still train you as if you're an athlete, because I think way too many people think they need this specialty program. And from a youth athlete right up to, there's a certain point, I think, with amateur to pro, yep, where there's going to be some real specifics. We got to tighten it down for the most people that just want to be healthy, in shape. And, the number one thing most people want is to look good.
Yeah.
And I think the training really doesn't differentiate. And you've trained, I trained a UFC fighter. You trained Luke Wilson.
Yeah.
We both trained some pros.
Yeah. I've worked with a lot of pro athletes, and it's funny. I need a baseball specific program. Well, to be honest, talk to anybody in the strength and conditioning world, and those things don't exist, because every single person wants to get stronger, faster, more explosive, lose body fat. And if you do that, regardless of the sport, you are going to be a better athlete. Obviously, there's going to be some things within the individual sport, like if you're a baseball player, it's more from an injury prevention standpoint. We're going to take a little bit more time with your scapula, your rotator cuff, your elbow, do some things so that you don't get injured in that sport. But in terms of making you better at the sport, there is way more the same than there is different. And even fast forward, like you said, to adults and regular people that are high school non-athletes, just working hard, doing basic fundamental movements and progressing them every single day, that's going to make everybody better.
Right. So we have a kid who was just in here a minute ago, Colton Taylor, he's a scholarship ball player.
Yeah. He's
heading up to Texas for school. There's
you just go down to Texas, you don't go up.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. So
also learning geography.
Yeah, learning geography. Love having the teacher in the house.
Yeah.
So what I'm getting out of here is really Colton's specific work is so he doesn't get fucking hurt.
Totally.
Right. And then when Marcella, who's a trainer here, and she's an athlete in her own right. She might be a bad example of this, but at work she reaches overhead. Wow, what did she say? 700? It was some ridiculous number. So Colton and Marcella were both trying to get them stronger and have them not get hurt from the overuse,
totally,
from the repetition of their movements, right? I really think that's what people need to fix is where are your imbalances? Mm-hmm. Let's correct those and try to prevent injury as a result of those that you can't control. Because, whether it's your job or throwing a baseball or reaching overhead to grab parts, it's kind of going to be the same thing. And I train a lot of police officers, first responders. You guys specialize in athletes. That's what I specialize in. But really how I train Casey for his fireman, outside of his testing for specific tasks,
correct,
testing to get on jobs, or testing a SWAT guy or a cop or whatever, we're not really doing anything other than that. And then when you are testing specific, it's more practicing the move. And so that's what I try to tell kids. It's practice hockey. You want to be a great hockey player, practice hockey, practice skating, practice your puck handling. but get stronger. That's what we do in here.
I think the foundation's the same for everything, right? Like, I know I've seen a ton of avenues, train for football, right? Where I'm side by side with the lineman doing the same stuff. Some of our accessory movements, obviously, I'm not working as much weight overhead, trying to protect my shoulder, doing accessory movements here and there. We're still squatting together, we're still deadlifting together, and now progressing past sport and working with, like what we're training with a lot here is those first responders, policemen, firemen. Foundation's the same. It's still building that foundation of strength as much as you can, and then starting to work those accessories to, like in the conjugate system we work with is that gas tank, building that gas tank to be able to do your job, whether it's run into a building or, run down the field and catch a ball.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have always used this as an analogy too. Like, I've worked with Luke for a little while and, other pro athletes that you work with. And if you think of it in this perspective, if you get an athlete of that caliber hurt, the consequences are millions of dollars. He's losing his career. But I don't care more about Luke than I do a 19-year-old high school athlete. Like, I don't want to get him or her hurt either. If I'm working with an adult, their job at Chrysler or at the police force is just as important to them as Luke's job is in the NFL. Our number one mantra is do no harm. Okay? And then secondly is, like I think you touched on it, is you need to address all facets of physical development. If you look at, and it's nothing against powerlifters, but if you look at the world's strongest human beings, they're only good at one specific thing. And if that's your goal, then great, just develop that. But if your goal is to be a well-rounded, just healthy human being, you have to be able to do everything. You have to be mobile, you have to be strong, you have to be somewhat explosive, and you have to be able to be athletic and change directions, because that's what really fitness is, and that's what athletic development is.
Yeah, absolutely. My belief is as same as Westside Tactical here, and I think with you is like we want to build strong, able bodies, resilient to injury, with a gas tank to get shit done. Whether that means sprinting from the kitchen to the swing set because my kid just fell off the slide like happened the other day.
Yeah.
Like, that is getting shit done. And to whether it's if that means like taking care of your family, whether it's from like we're not preparing people to fight, but if you have to like lift something off because something fell on your foot or run to the backyard or whatever it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what it is. And your job, part of our service here is, man, if like somebody hurts himself because I'm doing something that, that's the biggest problem we have here, or obstacle, not problem, is that, we want to do this. We saw this on the internet type thing. And it's like, well, you got to go to work tomorrow. So if we don't practice that movement, whatever, they say that number 10,000 times, but if we don't practice that movement a significant amount of times, you're not going to be able to do it perfect.
No.
And if you only have 5 hours a week and we're going to spend 20 to 25 minutes of your 1 hour per day practicing fitness, we're not really getting you healthy. So let's keep it as simple as possible for your task, train for your purpose.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more with that. And I find so often people go on to, the internet is great for some things, but then it's very dangerous for other things. They go, like you said, find the newest trend on YouTube, and they want to be trying that without any background or foundational strength that Casey talked about. And they fail to realize that the person that posted that video on YouTube practiced that skill a whole pile of times to get it perfectly, maybe did 10 takes before they actually posted that thing on Instagram or YouTube. And that's the one problem I have sort of with social media, and maybe it's my age showing, but I just find that there's some parts of social media that are unauthentic, because everything is staged, everything is, done in 5 takes, the lighting is changed, to set the perfect situation.
Right.
So what you're seeing is a false narrative of what's actually going on.
Yeah, and it's that people want to come in and do it immediately, and it's like, listen, you got to get your reps in. You got to get there before we can load you up.
Yes.
So like, be very cautious. If your goal is to just get in shape, I'm not saying don't lift weights. I'm saying just make sure you're doing things properly. And if you can get there with a simple broad jump, I watched Luke Wilson train explosive movements, and his movement was a broad jump. What are the chances, knock on wood, that Luke is going to get hurt doing a broad jump as opposed to some of the other movements, right? So sports specific, risk adverse.
Absolutely.
And if you want to compete in something, well, then the rules are out the door because you're not there. Like, if the rule says just get your nose over the bar for a pull-up. Get your nose over the bar, man, and do as many as you can and flop your body around as you can. If you just want to, your goal is to just get in shape and get strong, then do the whole pull-up and get there slowly, right?
Yeah, totally. And the CrossFit's a great example because it's one of those things where I have some issues, nothing against CrossFit. I have some issues with the methodology of how they do things. But the greatest thing that I've seen as a result of CrossFit is it's taught people how to work hard.
Oh, yeah.
And now it's created this culture of really getting after it and working hard. I think that with the CrossFit community, the great coaches, like you said, do a good job of making sure their athletes are staying safe. But what I really like about it is it's created a community of people that are just getting after it and building the gas tank and getting strong and getting explosive.
Yeah. So if you are in your house and you want to, train for whatever, or if you want to be, whether it's be a pro athlete, a CrossFit coach, a tactical athlete like myself, get a coach, man. Get a coach. Be smart. Just that's the one thing we can say to you, because you could permanently injure yourself. I mean, Casey, yours is out of your control. Bad shoulder. I mean, and then it bothers you all the time. We see it all the time. My bad ankle bothers me, and I'm sure you got the same kind of thing. So we've beaten that to death. Let's move on just a little bit. I want you to put your ETS, your Elite Training Systems hat on. So you are the parent of an athlete.
Yep.
Okay. Or you actually
I
are.
am, yeah.
But let's talk
player.
about you're a parent of an athlete, somebody listening in today, and you want your kid to go pro in whatever sport. One of my things is like, man, like if you're just like taking tennis balls and running to the next cone and putting a tennis ball in the cone and, moving around on a Bosu ball, that's not getting there. What's your opinion there? What should these parents be looking for when they're, I mean, don't just say like come to ETS. I mean, what should they be looking for in a coach?
In a coach
or in a program?
First and foremost, obviously it depends on the stage of development the kid is in. So if your child is, let's say, very young, between the ages of, let's call it 7 to 12 years old, whatever situation they're in, make sure that they're enjoying the sport. Make sure you're enjoying the process, because the word fundamentals, everybody wants to build the fundamentals, which are great. But if you don't include the root word of that fund in the fundamentals, they will never stay with it long enough in order to reach any potential that they may get to. It is critical to be in an enjoyable environment. And so often I see too much pressure put on kids at a young age, and they end up losing their love or joy of the sport. Then when they advance to that next stage, and where they're going like be 12, 13 years old, and they want to get some extra development, I think chase great coaching. And what defines a great coach? One, I think that they have to have a, first and foremost, caring about your child's development, not in terms of getting them better for next week. There's no quick fixes to this. And number two, having a broad background in, strength and conditioning. There's so many people out there that profess to know things, and I always say, just because a guy has big biceps doesn't mean that he or she has any idea how they got those big biceps. When you're sick, you go see a doctor, not the sickest person you can find. So find somebody that
love that.
Yeah,
I love that.
Find somebody that has got a background in this, that is authentic in their development. They're not promising you anything. If anybody promises you, oh my God, if you come to us, we are going to guarantee that your kid's going to go to the OHL. He's going to guarantee. There's no freaking guarantees, man. There's no guarantees. So chase great coaching. Find people that are educated, have your child's best interest at heart, and are not promising quick successes. If they're promising quick successes, you just know they're full of shit.
Yes.
And they're trying to get your money.
Yeah, man. And kind of the same thing for adults. Like if they're just promising you're going to have abs or a booty or whatever the fuck, they're chasing money, man. They're chasing money because they're giving you bullshit answers. Might it work for some people? Yeah.
There's a reason. I read an article one time. There's a reason. It's funny. Grocery stores are designed a certain way. Everybody that has a child knows that all the sugary cereals are right at the eye level of kids, because that's where kids are going to focus their eyes. They're going to bug their parents. They want to get this cereal. When you go into a traditional gym, and I don't want to knock anybody that's promoting fitness, because if you're a traditional Globo gym and you have people coming there all the time, you're doing a great job for society because you're making people healthy. But they're designed their gyms in a certain way. Every single person that walks into one of those Globo gyms, the ellipticals, the treadmills, all of the non-intimidating things are all they're all as soon as you walk in the front door. Okay,
All the milk bag cardio shit, right?
Yes,
Okay,
totally.
so the milk bag cardio shit.
All the fucking hard work shit's at the back because they don't want to scare you away. They want to tell you, okay, this is not going to be that hard. It's going to be easy. It's fucking hard, man. I'm 50 years old. It's fucking hard to stay in shape. You got to work at it all the time, and you got to work. You got to put yourself, put your feet to the fire almost every day.
Yes, absolutely. So, little like history for you guys with me and Coach Jimmy Mack here is like we've known each other forever, but we've like just started really bonding the like relationship wise like through this coaching and through just like when you guys open the gym and you coming back and forth with me. And I already have like a list, man. I have like 10 Jimmy Mack quotes that are like in there, and I just added number 11 with if you don't find the sickest. If you want to get better, you don't find the sickest guy.
I like
you find
quotes like that, and then I come from just a complete sidebar. Is people talk about me telling stories all the time. I'm a good storyteller. I swear to God, my father and my uncles I'm in single A baseball compared to those guys. They're in the fucking major leagues. Even now, if we're together at Christmas or a family function or something, and I hear my dad or uncle start tell a story, I'm like a little child sitting crisscross applesauce in front of them. Just can't wait to hear the story. Those guys are like world class compared to me.
It's overwhelming.
Yeah.
If you're in a room where Jimmy's not the one with all the attention, there's a lot going on.
Yeah, it's crazy.
He's already the everybody's favorite guy on the staff, and he's not even on our staff. Anyways, we're gonna take a minute here to do a read-in. If you guys want to fill up your beers or have a drink. Listen, so I want to tell you guys about AXL Films. They're our sponsor. They work with us week in, week out. These guys are a video production company. They're the ones doing this YouTube video you're watching. They provide creative strategies, powerful video marketing campaigns for brands. They provide creative video services, small and large companies alike. They've worked with small people like us, the Garage Gym. They've also worked for massive franchises like the Toronto Raptors. If you're motivated business owner and you want to launch a new product or service, AXL has experience that know how to bring the attention to your brand through creative video marketing. AXL will focus on your goals and use creative storytelling to introduce your brand to the world. They just launched an incredible video for us for our next charity, our virtual 5K that we got coming up. If you guys need anything at all, visit them at axlfilms.com to learn more and tell them Tango One or Tony sent you. Let's move on. I'm going to pour myself just a little bit of tequila here. Good. We like to sip on drinks. Right, what do we got, Case, today? You got a GL?
I got a GL. What do I got? Apple Jack Ale right now.
So local beers. What do you got?
I got a Kingsville Canadian beer with a name on the bottom. Sounds German. I have no idea how to pronounce it. Hefeweizen, maybe?
And I'm going with my my traditional, other than the little tequila chaser, just to keep the throat dry. What
that stuff might be crazier than I already am.
My GL Heritage guys always hooking us up. So let's move on, man. Okay, so I would be like totally missing the mark if I didn't get you with this. So we just talked all about training, and like your coaching thing was phenomenal. What did we learn that mastermind the other day? The term was people don't pay for
coaching, they pay for coaches, right? So it's selling yourself.
Right.
And that's the most important thing is, hey, you can know everything in the world when it comes to training or whatever the business or job is. But if you're not a relatable person, what good are you, right?
Right. So like you, Case, you, all three of us in this room, we didn't come from a traditional, like, I want to be a strength coach background, right? And which I think is a huge advantage to us because not all of them, I don't want to like totally generalize, but like as I've got more into this and I go to these seminars, it's like, dude, man, like, yeah, you know so much about the body. I can't imagine it.
Yeah.
But like, you can't even, I don't want to go to lunch with you, let alone, I don't even want to have a coffee with you because the conversation is terrible. Like, and I think that's where people are missing out. You've got 25, almost 30 years of coaching experience. We'd be remiss if we didn't ask you, what do you think? And like with me, like you're not even my coach and you've just built this connection, this bond. How do you think the best way, or what do you just elaborate on that in general thoughts?
I think it's having an authentic passion for caring about people. And if I care about you and care about you, I want to know what's going on in your life. And I want to know more than just my ability. I want my connection between myself and the athletes I've coached to be more than just my ability to teach you how to throw a spiral, teach you how to do a squat. Because I think that, and maybe it comes from my philosophy, that physical activity is a conduit towards a better life. And if I can help you through sports, set goals, achieve goals, overcome adversity, be consistent, all the things that we teach, I can help your future. And if I care about you, I want to do more than just teach you how to squat. Not that I have all the answers on how to live life this, unbelievable way, because I'm half crazy myself. But at the same time, I try to, and I don't do it on I guess the way I want to phrase it is I don't do it because I'm looking to gain anything from it. I just authentically want to help you. And the more that I show that I have another quote that I use with coaches all the time. Nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. So unless you can get an understanding of that I care about you authentically, you're not going to be as receptive to information as you would be if you understood that I cared about you as a person. And talk to anybody, even at the highest level of sports. When the game is on the line, people want to know if the other person in the huddle or on the bench in a hockey game, that we care about each other. That's what builds the strongest teams, is care. And I totally believe that. And I think that I've been able to build relationships with kids and other people that I work with because I just honestly care about them.
I agree too. Like, I can definitely attest to you specifically, right? Like, Jimmy was the phone call that is one of those pivotal moments in your life, and where, like, I was in my last year of high school, starting to look into school. School started contacting me, right? I had a few recruit trips here and there. And one night, like, can remember it as vividly as I can remember breakfast today, which might not be that great of an example.
Yeah.
But, Jimmy called my house. Like, most recruiters kind of wait sometimes for you to make a decision and call. Jimmy called my house and said, "Hey, where's your head at? What's going on?" We had a big chat, and obviously a very personal guy. And by the end of that phone call, I had committed with Windsor, right? And that's what Jimmy is potentially the main reason that got me into Windsor. And now here I am. It's been almost 7 or 8 years since that phone call.
Never leaving Windsor. Can you make that? Right? Tell me that. Look me in the eye and say that.
And with me, I think it's all about, and everybody has different motivations as to why they work with people. Some people are doing it for money. Some people are doing it for fame. I just authentically like building relationships with people. That's what I would rather build relationships than win championships. I really, really, really would. I would, I don't want to die tomorrow, but I would much rather my teaching and coaching career be defined as the number of weddings I went to rather than the number of championships I've won.
I mean, you see that every day in sports. I mean, yeah, they get jumbled around these teams these days a lot, but real small scale. My AKO team, the first year that we went to the national championship, we went 3 years in a row to the national championship.
Yep.
My first year, the best team that's ever been around this place, man. Like, how many guys we had? Like, the pro, we had 10 guys leave for scholarship, and that team didn't win.
No.
But 3 years later, that team that had that was down to just 28 players had this bond that was just above and beyond. Like, relationships win championships. Totally. And when I came to ETS with you guys, the first thing we fixed was relationships.
Yeah.
Relationships. Absolutely. Because you guys were working to the bone. You guys were like not having time to actually build a relationship with each other in the team because you were so busy in the business.
Absolutely.
And the first thing we did was that. And it was like this, like,
groundbreaking. Yeah.
Yeah. Like a right hand turn, like and the business started like increasing without even fixing the business. Like, it was just fixing the relationships.
Yes. And that's one thing that was a struggle for me, was that, I've been busy my whole life. I've coached all the time. But that took my busyness to another level. And I almost think that I don't know if burnout is not the right way, but I think I was so overwhelmed with being in the moment all the time that for the first time in my life, a couple of relationships just suffered. And I had to fix that because, that's not who I am.
Yeah. No. And that's, that's like a huge credit that I give you is like, and something like a guy like now that working with you for like almost a year indirectly for a while, and then now is like, you have been around the block, man. And like, you could easily tell a guy like me who's coming in and saying like, "Hey, go talk to him." Like, like, why don't you just try talking to him about it? Or like, you could have easily just pushed that away when instead you embraced it. And now I'm watching you like like try to handle TikTok and
Yeah,
like
totally.
things that are like way out of my. I'm not saying I'm a pro by any means, but man, like you've like I'm watching an old dog learn new tricks, and I hope, man, like I'm not that far behind you, and you're like probably equal, like 3 generations of like like 20 years separate all 3 of us.
Yep.
Is I hope like I'm able to do that at 50. I hope that you're able to do that at 60 and you're able to do that at my age. Like that's like one thing I think is like a key to like success is that never trying to peak, never stopping.
Never. It never stops. And it's all about having just a growth mindset. And I know it's a catchphrase. I don't even call it a growth mindset. I just call it just being fucking curious. Like I'm just naturally a curious human being. Like I like to research stuff. I'm interested in a bunch of stuff has nothing to do with strength and conditioning. I'm just naturally, I've always been a very curious human being. And I just like to research stuff and, go down rabbit holes here, go down rabbit holes there.
So when Jimmy Mac opened, I brought a book to him and Luke, Gino Wickman, Traction. So I brought it to them. I'm like, hey, this book like changed my business. If you have a business, I totally recommend it. Hand it to these guys. And then when you came to talk to me about some issues going on, like almost a year later, I was kind of like, man, this guy motherfucker didn't read this book. I guarantee he didn't read this book because everything like I think it's gonna start. And you walked in, you had this like page full of notes, and I was like, all right, man, like this old football coach is like ready to roll on business, like he wants it. And that's when I was kind of like bought in with like, I'd love to work with these guys.
Yeah, I'm just curious. I authentically enjoy learning, and I'm somebody that didn't do great in school. Like football is something that
we had the right table.
Yeah.
I think everyone at this table can agree with you.
You know what's funny is I was in grade 11, and that was probably the people talk about peaks. That was probably my valley of high school. Was grade 11. I had a horrid academic career in grade 11, and then in grade 12, I was like, okay, I want to play university football so bad. But I'm fucking terrible in school. And I got to get into university to be able to play in university. So I kind of got focused in grade 12. And back then you had to go to grade 13. And then I went to grade 13 and actually did okay in school. And then in university, I was, tried to do 2 sports the first year. And then they told me unceremoniously that I was kicked out of the program because academically I wasn't great. So I transferred schools and went to Windsor. And so what I'm saying is I've never really been a great student. I've been an average student like everybody else, but I truly enjoy learning about things that I'm interested in. It baffles my mind even to this day. English class. Hey, you get a 17 or 16-year-old high school kid in English, and we're asking him to read Catcher in the Rye. And maybe that's a great piece of literature. I don't know. I'm somebody who loves reading. I don't know if I could get through 9 pages of Catcher in the Rye. Get kids something that they're interested in, and people are more likely to give a great effort if that's the case.
It's when you have that kind of purpose or why you want to do something. Like I was almost identical story, right? I was on route to college, wanted to do carpentry or something hands-on through high school. And then I went back for my 5th year. I was going to take 6 gym classes, play another year of football, right? And that's when schools started to contact me and started showing a bit of interest and thought, well, maybe I can play university. Mm-hmm. And then now it's like, okay, I got to go. I don't have any university credits.
Yeah.
So my whole 5th year, I was that guy in grade 11 English class sitting front row, right, to learn it all. But I did well. All my grades were fine, and it just kind of showed me going into university, like, if you actually care about it, and there's a reason, my reason was to play university football, I could figure it out and do it.
Yeah.
Right? And same thing with learning is and reading, right? If I have a book that I'm interested in, I could finish that thing in a week. But if you give me that dry literature that some classes you get, within the first 3 pages, my mind is off in the clouds for the next hour.
Yeah, it's sort of having a greater goal. I could tell another story. I'll even mention the guy's name because I love him to death. Jeremy Deno.
Fucking tell another story. We want it.
He's an Amherstburg guy, Jeremy Deno. Chris Deno, his cousin, is at Windsor Police Officer.
Yeah, I know Chris.
So Chris's cousin, Jeremy, who I love to death. Jeremy was an enormously, he was a fat kid. Big, huge, fat kid in grade 9. Played football, was a pretty good football player. But struggled in school. Oh my God, poor Jeremy. I mean, he struggled in school. Grade 11, I remember going into his math class. Now, he had failed math twice. So now he's 295 pounds sitting in a grade 9 math class trying to get the math credit for the third time. So he finally gets it, and but by now he's in grade 11, and I've convinced him, listen, you can play university football, but you got to get your ass in gear school-wise, man. You got to do better in school. And because he had a greater goal of, okay, I can use school to play football, in grade 13, his last year of high school, I said, okay, this is the strategy. You can't take this course or this course or this course. Let's give you, we'll call it pick 6. Or we're going to pick 6 teachers that I think we can put you into that class, and you can get a decent enough mark that's going to get you into university. And once you get into university, I think you'll survive. I think you'll do well because you're not a dumb kid. And I picked 6 teachers. He got 6 credits. He went to Laurier, played 5 years at Laurier, and now he works since graduated with a degree, and now he's a prison guard in Mississauga.
That's incredible, though.
Yeah.
Like, those are the successes, man, like, people don't hear about. Like, you know, coaching and all these things, like, that is what, like that's what fuels the fire, and we're going to get into this in a couple minutes. But, like, you know, it's funny that we come almost full circle. The first time, we've only had 4 episodes. First episode, I talked about my dad, and what he did to me was I wasn't a good student. And, like, what he did was maybe he realized I wasn't going to be a doctor. I was going to follow in his footsteps, be a cop. My dad is, like, the most well-read guy ever, but he, like, has no education. And he just saw something in me that, like, loved leadership, that loved sports, that loved, like, the outdoors, and even, like, Shakespeare. I was like, I really like that stuff that some people find boring. I loved it. And he fed it to me. He fed it to me, and he didn't care that I continued to bring home on a regular basis anywhere from a 45 to a 65 in my classes. And he didn't even care that I was taking, like, you know, I think in grade 13, I was taking, like, grade 10. Back then we had general drafting. Like, he didn't care because he saw that I liked it. And, like, it was just about, like, educating yourself and then get out there with as many tools in your toolbox as you can. And I think, like, that wasn't, like, anything we plan to talk about here, but, like, I know there'd be a lot of parents listening, and you're a guy who has been teaching forever, before they had all the rules they have now.
Totally.
And, that's the one thing I hope people do is just feed your kid with what they love to do, not Nintendo and everything else. Like, feed them kids, like, with those things that you know will help them to get better, that are gonna, like, burn a passion in their soul.
Yeah, passion, I think, is everything. If you can find something that you're passionate in, that's the spark that's going to knock all the other dominoes down. If you have enough passion, you can knock as many dominoes down as you want. There's no obstacles that can be in your way if the passion's high enough.
Yes. So that brings us into, like, one of the last things I wanted to talk about was when I, you know, after, like, my brief, like, really getting to know you, if I was to describe Jimmy Mac, it would be energy and passion. Yeah, energy is one of the core values of ETS, and passion is one of the core values of the Garage Gym. Yeah. And so we're blending them together, man. Like, where does that come from? Where does that, like, that fire? I've never seen a guy, man, like, I thought I had passion. I thought I had passion. This guy comes in, man, and he's like...
I remember having dull practices in university, and Jimmy comes out fucking firing on all cylinders. Like, let's have a great day. It's a great day. It's a great day. Yelling in your face.
Like, do you wake up like this, or is there something that you do?
It's not by... I'll be honest. Like, obviously, I've got a lot of ADHD, so I think there's some benefits of ADHD, and I think that being enthusiastic and passionate is one of those things. I've always been that way since I was a little kid. Like, I did the I won the Essex County speech contest in grade 4 on Muhammad Ali. I still to this day believe that if there's anybody out there who thinks they know more about Muhammad Ali than me, they're lying. I just have always been passionate. It's just harnessing that passion. Sometimes I get all over the place, but yeah, I've just always been energetic. I have never really lacked for energy and things that if you talk to my wife, she'd probably say I'm not the greatest passionate guy about cleaning the backyard or making sure the lawn is perfectly, manicured. If I'm not passionate about something, I don't bring the energy or the juice like, I do in other facets. But there's things I'm passionate about, and things I'm passionate about, I'm really passionate about. And it's not just sports. Like, I'm a huge music guy, folk music. I have a lot of interests. I'm just a kind of naturally passionate guy, and I've always been that way and have no trouble being energetic. I wake up in the morning energetic.
That's good. And one thing that has impressed me lately is one thing that you've brought up is you're finding new passions even with everything going on. Is you started building things in your basement, right? You've admitted that when it comes to being a handyman, it's not your number one thing, but even finding that passion is now I have time to work on stuff in the house. You're sending me pictures of you're fixing your back wall, you're putting up new designs all over the place.
Yeah, it was funny, that story too. So I redid my garage and turned it into a garage gym. And I don't have any tools, okay? So my dad is very handy. So I called up my dad and I said, Dad, hey, can I use your air nailer? And it was on the phone, so I didn't see his facial expression, but I could just imagine what it looked like. Probably look over the top of his glasses like this and just say, Jimmy, what in the fuck are you using an air nailer for? I won't lend you a fucking screwdriver because you don't know how to use it. Oh, Dad, I watched these YouTube videos. I'm going to do this. I was even scared to tell him. And then when I was done, I sent him the pictures. He was stunned. So yeah, I just used it. There's an example where I kind of bashed YouTube. There's where I said, oh my God, you can learn anything on YouTube. I spent a little while on it, and my son and I went outside, and he's about as handy as I am. And we went out and we redid the garage, and I got some wood and did a pallet wall, and feel pretty proud of myself after that. I can attack bigger projects.
All right, last thing I want to talk about. We talk about being like athletes. All of us are athletes. Whether you're like a mom that's never worked out in your life, or you're a ex-football players like all of us, or you're a pro athlete, or whatever it is. We're all athletes at different stages in the journey. So like your journey is getting up there, right? You're 50 years old. That's not a dig, because like the fucking shit you did 2 weeks ago. Like this guy, so he comes on our team meeting at ETS and says, oh, I ran a half marathon this morning, then did the yard, then bench pressed. I did a 225 max test and a 205, whatever, it doesn't matter.
225 for 9, I just missed 10.
And then I tested his cleans. Like, so a strength and conditioning coach, that was not the right choice, but that's beyond this. Is like, what are you suggest? So I'm seeing like already, like I invested in some hammer strength equipment just to keep myself, I want to stay strong, but like the barbell's starting to get to me just a little bit. So I want to stay strong and like get rid of that. What are you doing different than you were? I'm 41.
Yeah.
Casey's 26. So like the difference between Casey to where I am is he's seeing me like, you know, the other day we're doing box squats. I raised the box up. I'm like, listen, man, I'm here to get stronger. My back's not feeling right. And he's not having those issues yet. And he will. Right. Mm-hmm. And what are you doing different than I probably am? Like, what's your advice to me?
So I'm working a lot more on mobility. Naturally,
All right, change the subject.
No, I swear to God, as you get old, if you think of it from this perspective, a strong immobile athlete is always going to get hurt because water is going to find its level. So if you are really strong and continuing to load an improper movement, if you lack mobility and you're not moving efficiently, at some point you're going to get hurt. I am not a mobile athlete by any stretch of the imagination, but the older you get, the more mobility becomes important. Because if you look at a 16-year-old kid, almost every 16-year-old kid is mobile. You know, they all can't maybe touch their toes, but they can bend. Okay? If you fast forward that and extrapolate that to the other end of the spectrum, and you look at 60-year-old people, very few of them can move efficiently because they're immobile or they lack strength. So I continue to build the foundation of strength, which is obviously important, but I have added a lot of mobility stuff into my repertoire just to improve that because I'm not good at that to begin with. So example of going down a rabbit hole, like animal flow. I'm doing a lot of like flow movements like that where I lack mobility specifically is my hips and my shoulders. And my shoulders is a byproduct of some injuries that I've incurred over the years, but my hips is just probably from not doing the right things. So I would build more mobility, not stretching, not standing there touching my toes and doing static stretching, but doing dynamic movement-based mobility exercises in a progressive fashion, I think is important as people age.
Amazing.
And the other big thing is nutrition. And
I think nutrition at every stage of life is very important, and as it progresses, even more so. And like I think when Jimmy, when you talk about mobility, I think one word that gets like left out by us coaches too much is stability.
Yes.
So like when you're talking animal flow, you're very much talking about mobility and stability because like, man, like, you know, my mom is 65. She's in the classes all the time. She's gonna get mad. But like stability is the thing. Like I don't want my mom to fall over. So like mobility is one thing to be able to get down low, but you also need to be very stable. And I think that's one thing that you're probably focusing on a ton. And we always throw those words in kind of together, but
yes, I think mobility and stability, if you really break it down, are almost synonymous with one another.
Me too, 100%. I just want to make that clear to everybody
here listening. You can't have one without the other. Like I still want to be able to, get my nose over my foot, stand on one, and be balanced on one foot. I still want to be able to do all of those things because it's just so important to living. Like, because at this stage of the game, I'm not playing college football anymore. I want to be able to live healthy, and I want to be able to still do all the things that I did to the same capability as when I was 25. And I don't think, I don't think there's any reason why I can't. I don't think at 60 I'm going to be any different. Like, I hope anyway. I'm going to keep working at it. And like, there's another quote that, people don't go, but I hope I don't get it backwards. People don't grow old because they stop, or people don't stop exercising because they get old. They get old because they stop exercising. Okay? That if you just keep this, and that's why we talk about that athletic development model where everybody's an athlete. If you look at, it's a whole lifetime thing. If you find an enjoyment in physical activity when you're 12 and no variable comes in to detract from that fun, you're going to keep that going the rest of your life because it's important to you.
Yeah, man. Case, what do you got? What do you got for your old coach? What do you got for your old football coach?
I think that's unreal, and this has been awesome talking. And again, it's been great over the last while working together. And again, full circle is, your big reason that I'm here today. And now being able to work kind of hand in hand, it's awesome to me, for sure.
So I want to close this out with this little something. Like, Jimmy, like from the bottom of the heart, like for all the Windsor, Essex County, man, like you and every other coach, because I know coaching has become a premium, and it was something that like I think my age group and your age group for sure, and like Casey's age group has started to see it, where it's like, and then beyond that is like getting even worse, is that we're not seeing like, and I'm not putting this on any of the teachers or whatever, because I know there's a lot going on. It's like there's being less and less coaches, and there's less and less, guys who are staying around like to do this for 25 years. This coach is taking on for a couple of years. Is like, man, like without my high school coaches, like I hope they're listening. There's no chance I'm on the police department. There's no chance I'm on the SWAT team. There's no chance that this podcast is going right now.
No.
So from the bottom of my heart, Casey, everybody else in Windsor, Essex County, thank you for everything you've done, and every other person who's ever coached anybody for free in your whole lives, or those you getting paid to, you get the shout out, but because I don't want you guys to stop paying, but like like I truly thank you so much, man, and like appreciate awesome talking to you today.
Yeah, it was awesome. I had a great time.
Yeah, cheers, boys.
Cheers.
Let's call it. Boom.
That's good.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's good.